Hello. Today is the 22nd of October 2024, and I'm going to make this video about the major transits around the zodiac in accordance with the 8th sign, which is a Scorpio. Probably your sign if you're watching this video, or perhaps it is your rising sign, or it is someone else's sign. But anyway, well, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope that what I'm going to tell you about the transits and their possible effect will be useful throughout the year 2025, which is going to be quite an interesting year, but it's more, in my opinion, globally, more a year to prepare for 2026, which is going to be the year. Let's have a look at what we can get out of certain planets around the zodiac. The first one I want to talk to you about is Mars, because Mars is an important planet for Scorpios. At the moment, Mars is in Cancer. So it's been in Cancer since the 4th of September of this year, 2024, and it's going to remain in it until the 4th of November of the same year. So why should I talk to you about this transit? Because it must probably have already been covered in the video for 2024. Well, it's because Mars is going to change sign. Of course, on the 4th of November, it's going to begin a transit in Leo. But it's only going to begin it because it's going to retrograde. From the 6th of December, Mars is going to retrograde. So this is an apparent motion in reverse. Mars will seem to be going backwards, back in Cancer. Because from our point of view on Earth, because the Earth turns twice as fast around the Sun, occasionally the Earth overtakes, Mars. So then it seems to be retrograding. But it has a meaning. Symbolically, it indicates that the energy of the planet is not going to be as strong, and that perhaps it needs to be reassessed. Now, when Mars is in Leo, my advice would be to be careful. Be careful not to get hurt, for example. Be careful not to get into trouble. Be careful of not getting into various incidents or even accidents. Accidents do happen, unfortunately. So Mars is going to transit the 10th sign from yours. Yours is the first one because it is the one we're talking about today. So Sagittarius is the second one, and so on and so forth, until Leo is the 10th one. And the 10th sign is symbolically, once again, linked to the 10th house. It represents your career, your status, your relationship with authority, and the authority that you have on other people around you and on your life in general. The midheaven, as we call it as well, represents your personal ambitions and your potential to succeed. So when Mars transits this area of the zodiac in accordance with your sign or your ascendant, it makes you a lot more demanding, more energetic, for sure, to address what you need to do, to assume and to deal with your responsibilities at work and privately. But it tends to create some sort of exaggeration. So that's what you need to be careful about, because between Leo, which is a fire sign, and yours, which is a water sign, there is not a spontaneous agreement. Try to mix water and fire and see what happens. So we say that there is a discordance between both elements. So naturally, Mars transiting in Leo is going to enhance that discordance. and it will most probably make it more difficult for you to control your personal energy. But that has already been covered in the video that I made for 2024, because the retrogradation of Mars is going to begin on the 6th of December this year, 2024. But on the 6th of January, still reversing, Mars is going to realign with Cancer. And when it does, which is what it does actually at the moment, it's going to recreate the very beneficial configuration that we call a trine between two water signs belonging to the same elements are naturally in accordance, in harmony. It's very easy to mix water with water. You just get more water. You can get floods as well, but I mean, it's easy to mix them together. So, what I suggest is that at the moment, to prepare for the transit of Mars in Leo, because it's going to happen twice. So, by the time Mars comes back in Cancer, you would have already assessed what this planet may trigger in you and around you. And if you're not careful, for sure, you will get in trouble. You will make mistakes, because Mars represents speed. And if you go too fast to get what you want, you may not have enough time to think about the consequences of what you are going to do. So that's why I warn you about this transit. Now, when Mars moves back in Cancer, if there has been something going on while Mars was in Leo for that short time, from the 4th of November until the 6th of January, 2025 that is, well, it's going to allow you, when it is back in Cancer, to reassess the situation and perhaps repair what you may have not done properly, and go back onto what needs to be actually done in the most righteous way, so that when Mars comes back in Leo, a transit that is going to last for 2 months, it's going to occur between the 18th of April and the 17th of June. And during that period when Mars is in Leo, this configuration here, this discordance, is going to apply. So if you are prepared, you will be able to control the situation. It's like being on board of a Formula One car. If you don't know how to pilot that car, to drive it, well, there's bound to be an accident, right? So speed is represented by Mars once again, and if you go too fast during this period, you will make mistakes. That's for sure. Besides, Leo is the sun's sign. It is represented by the sun. And if Scorpio is your sun sign, your zodiac sign, that's because the sun is in Scorpio in your chart. So Mars will be in discordance with the sun, which is the provider of life, which is your vital force, your vital energy. And that is going to be increased. And that increase may become difficult to handle. It may be a good idea to wait until Mars transits another sign like Virgo or yours. Because when it does transit your sign or your ascendant, the consequence of what you've done while Mars is in Leo will probably come forward very strongly. And the transit of Mars in your sign is going to increase your personal energy and your need and desire to impose yourself in many ways, but perhaps too much. So there are two periods in the year 2025 when you have to be careful not to get into trouble, because that Mars energy is going to change you into a warrior. And that may be very, very positive if you control the energy. You know, self-control, self-discipline is going to be very, very useful. And it will be demanded from you to really control yourself, because that is what is going to make the difference. Either you obtain a fabulous result thanks to the fact that you will be able to control your personal energy, strength, and authority, and so on, or not. If you cannot control that, if you fall victim of your own energy or of the actions of other people around you, then of course it's going to be much more difficult. Now, the period when Mars transits your sign will be between the 22nd of September until the 4th of November, 2025, of course, that is. So that is for Mars. But remember, this is a major influence, and it is going to be a major influence in your life in 2025, especially during the periods that I've just mentioned. Another planet I want to talk to you to is actually your planet. So Pluto is here. It's still in Capricorn, but it is on the verge of changing sign to settle for 20 years in Aquarius. So while it transited this sign here, Capricorn, it was actually forming a beneficial link, or aspect as we call them as well, with your sign. The link is called a sextile, which is an angle of about 60 degrees, linking an earth sign, in this case, which is Capricorn, and a water sign, which is Scorpio. Water and earth mix easily, and they can make a very constructive mixture, actually. So while Pluto was transiting in Capricorn, it helped you a lot to regenerate and to obtain what you wanted, thanks to your resilience, your ability to sustain long-lasting effort and work. Hopefully, what you obtain, since Pluto was in Capricorn, which began in 2008, it's a very long transit, because Pluto is a very slow planet. It takes 248 years and 157 days to revolve around the zodiac. It's going to remain, as I said earlier on, 20 years in Aquarius. And the transit is going to begin on the 20th of November 2024. Now, this sign here is an air sign, Aquarius. So between air and water, although it's not a terrible discordance, there is what we call a discordance in astrology. The reason is that air and water are not easy to mix together voluntarily. There is water in air and air in water, that's for sure. They do cohabit together. But try and mix, air with water, or water with air. What do you get? Water. Air is everywhere, but invisible. So while Pluto transits in Aquarius, it's going to become a challenge to deal with the energy. It's going to transit the fourth sign from your sign or your ascendant. Yours is 1, 2 is Sagittarius, 3 Capricorn, and 4 Aquarius. Now the fourth sign is naturally, symbolically linked to the fourth house. It represents the home, your family, your place of residence, your area of residence, maybe your city, your street, your building, or your country. So there is something that is going to drastically change, be transformed. Something is going to die so that you can start something new. You know, death and rebirth. That's Pluto's symbolical energy or influence in our life. So we do need to regenerate from time to time. When we get ill, for example, when we fall, to get up again. So the energy of Pluto, which is your planet, is going to allow you to be much more present on the family scene or in that area which I've just explained, you know, the fourth house, the immediate surrounding, your environment, family environment and country environment, region environment, city environment, whatever. It will be different from one Scorpio-born person to another once again, because we're all different. But still, it's going to be very important because the transit is going to last for 20 years. And that doesn't say that for 20 years you're going to regenerate this area of your life, because that could be very tiring. No. I mean, the energy of Pluto is going to awake from time to time. Otherwise, it's going to remain more or less dormant. But the idea of that area needing that transformation, that transmutation even, you know, that regeneration is going to perdure for 20 years. It will be like a backdrop in your life on which your life is going to, you know, spread and express itself. And you will be responsible for a lot of what is going to happen because Pluto represents you. So it's like you are coming home and you are deciding to transform that home of yours and the ideal of being at home wherever you are or wherever you will decide to be. That is a very important question that you will need to answer for yourself. Because Pluto, Mars are not the only planets that are going to play an important role in your life in 2025 and in 2026. The planet I want to talk to you about now is a generous planet. It's Jupiter. It represents generosity. It represents expansion, evolution, growth, progress, and success. But it can also represent the evolution of something that you don't like. So it plays on both sides, you know, or both ways. So Jupiter is at the moment in Gemini. The transit began on the 25th of May, 2024. Jupiter in Gemini. It is going to last until the 9th of June. Now, between Gemini and Scorpio, there is what we call an inconjunct. So I draw the line in green. It is an ambiguous configuration because it indicates the tendency to postpone, to procrastinate. You know, what you have to do today, you decide that you will do it tomorrow or next week or a week after or whatever. But the reality is that you should do it today and not wait, because if you do wait, it's going to become much more difficult to deal with the subject or the situation. Now, this sign here, Gemini, from yours, is number 8. So it is naturally linked to the 8th house. representing your status in the community as far as finances are concerned. So it is a period which lasts for about a year, during which anything financial is going to increase in importance, in volume. So you may have more money to deal with, to invest, but you may also need money to buy a piece of real estate, for example, or to just apply for a loan, for a car, or whatever. Money is going to become, and it has most probably since the 25th of May, become more important in your life, as well as sexuality, which is also represented by house number 8, and whatever you consider as being important and interesting on the subject of life and death, the mysteries of life. But that's all right. It's not something drastic. It's going to become quite interesting, actually, for you when Jupiter transits the following sign, which is Cancer. Because as we've said earlier on about Mars, Cancer is a sign which is in harmony with yours because it is also a water sign. A water sign and a water sign, they come together very easily. So that means that Jupiter, when it is in this area of your chart, is going to make it much more easy for you to deal with daily situations and your projects, your personal projects. You may need to prepare for something that will become very important in 2026, because the transit of Jupiter in Cancer is going to last from the 9th of June 2025 until the 30th of June 2026. So for a bit more than a year, Jupiter will be on your side. It will be your ally, your friend. And having a friend like Jupiter is very useful because the planet is going to make it much more spontaneously easy for you to deal with the official business in your life. We're here in the 9th sign from your side, and it represents, anything official, legal, and it represents your relationship, your eventual relationship with foreign countries and cultures, long-distance travels, studies, higher education. All that is represented by the 9th house, which is, of course, symbolically linked to the 9th sign from your side. Therefore, you can look forward to this transit in Cancer because it's going to really be helpful in many ways. The other planet, or rather planets, that I want to talk to you about are Saturn and Neptune. So they're both at the moment in Pisces. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012, early February 2012. Saturn since March 2023. The transit of Saturn in Pisces is going to last for 2.5 years. But Neptune remains about 14 years in every sign. While it transits in Pisces, it forms a very positive aspect or configuration with your sign or your ascendant, because Pisces is a water sign. So water, water, and water. But when Jupiter transits in Cancer, both planets will not be in Pisces anymore. They will be in Aries. There will be almost a conjunction in June 2025. Saturn is going to enter 2 months after Neptune in Aries. Aries is a sign visited by Neptune for the first time in 165 years. So it is a unique transit, rare, very rare. And of course, for that reason, it is important. And it is going to transit a fire sign. And of course, fire and water do not mix quite well together. There is what we call another inconjunct between Aries and Scorpio. So Neptune represents your dream. What is your dream? What do you dream about getting, obtaining in life? What is the ideal that you would like for yourself? Because while Neptune was transiting in Pisces, thanks to that configuration here, which is very positive and beneficial, you may have had a lot more dreams and more intuition, more inspiration, more ability actually to deal with life, with the rational matter of life in an irrational manner. This is here number 5 sign from yours. So it is linked to the 5th house. The 5th house represents creativity, creation and procreation, the arts, love, luck, anything nice, holidays and so on, childhood, are represented by house 5. So while Neptune and Saturn transit in Pisces, which is still the case at the moment, you could really benefit in a very concrete manner from this area of your chart, somehow, of your life rather, somehow. After that, of course, it all depends what you actually really want to achieve, what you want to obtain. If Neptune represents the dream, Saturn represents your ability to make that dream come true. On the 30th of March 2025, Neptune changes sign. And on the 25th of May 2025, Saturn changes sign. And both planets are going to conjunct, or almost conjunct, in Aries, around the 1st degrees in Aries. But both planets are going to be retrograding by mid-July. They'll both be retrograding, and they will realign with Pisces. And that has a meaning, of course, which is very important. It's like Aries being the 6th sign from your sign, suddenly what you may need to assess is the reality as far as work, duty, and health are concerned. Neptune is going to remain 14 years in Aries when it does come back in this sign. So what happens between, say, the 31st of March and the moment when both planets are going to retrograde, so by mid-July, and then gradually August and September, both planets will move back in Pisces. But during that time when they're in Aries, of course, because it is a fire sign, it's going to trigger a lot of active energy. But Neptune represents fog. So if you're in a foggy situation, if you need to go across a foggy patch on the road, what do? You slow down. And Saturn represents the brake, actually. So you may be able to apply that brake to slow down and then assess exactly what is going on around you. And if that is at work, you'll need to be rational about the irrational situation that you may have to deal with. And that is not going to be easy, because the inconjunct represents the tendency that we all have at times to procrastinate, you know. So if you are not reactive enough, you will become victim of what happens around you, victim of others, victim of yourself, because you will not decide promptly enough what to do and how to do it to deal with a foggy type of situation, a confusing type of situation. And if it has to do with your health, you will need to be very rational about it, rather than say, well, I'll consult my doctor next week. But anyway, it's going to get better. That is something that may trigger the worse rather than the better. So remember what I'm telling you, because the transit of Neptune in Aries is going to last for 14 years. So that means that for 14 years, just like I said for Pluto, it will more or less stay dormant, but it will wake up from time to time according to the movements of the other planets around the zodiac, the faster ones, of course. So remember that when Saturn and Neptune come back together and form a conjunction the second time, it will be a precise and exact conjunction on the 20th of February. And from then on, Saturn and Neptune will remain in Aries, in that sixth area of your chart. The other planet I want to talk to you about is Uranus. Uranus is at the moment in Taurus. And it's been in Taurus since 2018. So it has had a very strong influence in the seventh sign from your sign. And there is between both signs what we call an opposition. But in my opinion, the opposition is not a disturbing or discordant configuration. Because the elements involved, which are water for your sign and earth for Taurus, they're compatible. So if you can mix earth and water, the mixture is constructive. The mortar, you know, and anything that we can use to build or to make something concrete. So Uranus in here has produced a lot of changes in the manner you deal with personal relationship and other types of important relationships and partnerships. Now, Uranus is going to change sign. It will begin on the 8th of July and it will last until the 8th of November, because it is the first instance of that transit in Gemini. The planet, just like Mars and the other planets, is going to retrograde back in Taurus. And when it does, from the 8th of November until the 25th of April 2026, it will remain in Taurus. When it moves into Gemini, it will affect house number 8, or the 8th sign from your sign. So it will have an effect in the way you deal with money. You know, you're standing in the community as far as money is concerned. How much do you weigh money-wise? How much are you worth money-wise? And what do you do? How do you deal with money? There is a change needed in the way you deal with this area of your life, which is also sexuality, which is also your relationship with the idea of death and being born again, you know, life and death, the mysteries that evolve around those notions. So Uranus is going to become a very important planet in your life for the next 7 years, once it does settle in Gemini, which will begin on the 25th of April 2026. So you need to prepare for that. But while Uranus goes back in Taurus, you will need to go back on some relationships, some partnerships, to make sure that what needs to change in those partnerships or relationships change the best way possible. Because when Uranus transits in Gemini for 7 years or almost 7 years, it's going to really trigger the need to become someone else. Money-wise, your relationship with the material side of life is going to have to change. And that is what you will initiate while Uranus is in Gemini in 2025, from the 8th of July until the 8th of November. Very important to assess that, because what's going to happen may not happen because you want it to happen, but just because it is going to happen. And you will have to sort of adapt very quickly to the situation, but knowing that you will then deal with Uranus moving back in Taurus, it will allow you to go back onto certain areas that need to be changed or finalized change-wise with certain people around you, certain contracts, certain relationships or partnerships. That's what Uranus is going to demand from you. So you'll have to, address this, and if you are ready then by the 25th of April to change, transform, accept, to make a turn in the way you deal with money and your standing in the community, your relationship with the banks and so on, that is going to make the difference. The planet I want to talk to you now is a nice one. It is the goddess of love. It is Venus. Venus is going to transit your sign eventually in 2025. It does every year. It lasts for about 3 weeks. It increases your charm, your charisma. It increases your luck as well. So if you're more lucky, you can use that potential, to get favors and privileges from people around you. It will be much easier for you to obtain what you want, just because Venus will make you more someone that people like spontaneously. Venus will transit your sign from the 6th of November 2025 until the 30th of November. So the transit of Venus in one sign is something to look forward to and to prepare for, because the better prepared you will be, the better will you get from the positive energy of this sign. The last planet I want to talk to you about is Mercury. But Mercury, when it retrogrades, and it's going to retrograde 3 times. It's going to retrograde, I'm getting rid of this because it's in the way. Right, there we are. The first episode of retrogradation of Mercury. So when Mercury retrogrades, it's just something that seems to be, from our point of view on Earth, once again. The planet does not reverse, that's for sure. It would be a catastrophe if it did. Now, Mercury, in this area of your chart, this is the 6th sign from your sign, 6 hours. It's health, it's work, it's daily routine and duties. Mercury retrograde makes us less efficient mentally, intellectually. So we don't communicate as well. We don't understand as quickly. And we find it more difficult to explain ourselves. So of course, this may become a source of trouble at work, or maybe health-wise, or maybe in your daily routine. Now, it's never something drastic, but still, it is annoying. I know for a fact that it can become quite annoying. So just remember that, and the period of this first period of retrogradation of Mercury will occur from the 16th of March until the 8th of April. So just, make sure during that period, knowing that other people around you will also be affected by this retrogradation of Mercury, make sure that you've got everything, under control. But you won't. There will be problems for sure, but nothing drastic once again, so don't worry too much. The second retrogradation period will occur when Mercury transits in Leo. So that will be in the 10th sign from your sign. Once again, it is work, career, relationship with authority, your project, and so on and so forth. And that's probably in an area like that where you will find it difficult to communicate with other people and perhaps to understand or organize your project, your activity, and your relationship with the people involved in the business. Now, the last one will occur in Sagittarius, and that will be toward the end of the year, between the 10th of November and the end of November, 30th of November. So it will occur during the period when the Sun transits through Scorpio, through your sign. Therefore, it may be more important because Sagittarius is the second sign from your sign. So it has to do with money, the money you earn. It has to do with food, the way you feed yourself. And it has to do with the material side of life on a daily basis. So, remember that when Mercury retrogrades, we are not as efficient up here. This is the end of this reading. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end of it. Before I go, I'd like to remind you about my books. If you're interested in astrology and want to learn how to erect a chart and analyze it, a birth chart that is, or perhaps to learn how to forecast using what I've done just now, the transits of the planets around the chart, but not just according to the sign, according to the whole chart, which is your birth chart or anybody else's chart. There is also a book on karma, if karma is something that interests you. And there is a book on horary astrology, which is a very interesting technique to answer any kind of questions. And there is a book on medical astrology. Plus, there is also a book which is being written at the moment about the transit of Pluto in Aquarius. And that will be a very important transit for you because you were born under the sign Scorpio, or Scorpio is your rising sign, therefore Pluto is your planet. And of course, if you want to really get involved in a course to become a professional astrologer, perhaps, why not? Or just to, get that knowledge and use it on a daily basis to make your life better. My school is called A Better Life Astrology School. A better life, that's what actually astrology has given me, allowed me to become a better person as well. Well, thank you very much, and I wish you a very pleasant, rewarding, and successful 2025. Bye for now.